Hi, everybody. Mike Shope, Adam Krautwurst, another episode of The Deep End tonight. It's the calendar is so interesting. Like the football calendar keeps you busy, free agency, and then the combine. Now the draft is here, and even in fantasy, these guys like FFPC and the like, they got right up with their never too early best ball. Now here comes another best ball, and also here comes the Football Guys Championship. We're going to focus some on that tonight. This year's edition, which opens May 1st, that is next weekend. And also we'll look back at last year's. We'll talk to the winners and find out how they did it. I know Adam is he's burning a little bit because they did it on one entry. There's the head shake we've come to know and love.
Burying the lead, Mike. You're burying the lead.
We'll talk to Donny Andrews and Brady David, the winners of last year's Football Guys Championships. Thanks for watching. Welcome to the high stakes, focused, deep end. It's not my money, but if you win that tournament or one like it on one entry, you should win double.
You should absolutely win double. I mean, listen, the reason why we started the Draft Sharks Invitational was for us to have a single entry tournament. And these guys, they don't know it yet, but they're invited. They'll find out. Is to have the best of the best with one single entry compete against each other. You know what I mean? So,
Right.
So yeah, it's super impressive and super lucky, and I can't wait to talk about how amazing this ride was for them because I'm super jealous. So
things like this, I often think of my friend Greg Bauk, who, when we would go to Sabres games and they'd have the 50-50 raffle, he would say, "Why would you ever buy more than one ticket?" I'm like, "Well, Greg, how do you expect to win?" He's like, "How do you expect to win anyway? If you buy two tickets, you know one of them is a loser." So his win would always be one. Whatever, it's like $1 ticket at the 50-50 raffle, one ticket. Like if you ever win that way, you should win double. That's just amazing. Maybe more than double. Pretty good. And I'm not kidding. Like you've said it too. So much of what determines winners, this is the entirety of DFS and these tournaments is volume. And people draft accordingly. They've already got 13 shares of Jamar Chase, so let me get a couple Justin Jeffersons and whoever else. Like it really is the volume that doesn't win it for you necessarily, but it almost feels like you can't win without it. But these guys did. So good for them. That's tremendous.
Yeah, I'm excited to talk to them.
You want to get a thought in on this year's format? There are some changes, or we can do that after we talk to Donny and Brady. I know they're waiting.
I'll just go real quick over the new kind of changes for this year and the tournament. The reason why we wanted to have them on was to talk about it and last year. And but some of the changes that I've researched and found out. So it's the top prize is still $500,000, which is awesome. And second prize is now gone up to $150,000 from the $100,000 price point that it was, which is cool. It's a nice little consolation prize. There's also a bunch more teams too. I'll have to get the exact number, but I feel like there's like, I don't know, a couple hundred more teams that they're adding to this to make that happen. 150 more leagues. Sorry, there's 150 more leagues that they've added to this. So that's quite a bit more teams, around 1,100 or 1,200 or so. So yeah, it's going to be exciting. Again, to be a part of that. And I know people are talking about, hey, we want third prizes for the leagues. We want more league prizes and stuff like that. But we had Alex on the show a couple months ago, and that's not in the cards for this year. So whatever. But it's getting started. It starts, I think, the Sunday after the NFL draft. So usually I do the very first one of the year because I like to help kind of set the ADP for that. But I think the ADP is already kind of being set minus the rookies. So I might wait till, like, if it's funny, if you go on Football Guys right now, the first draft of the year has, I think nobody's entered at all. And then the second one is almost full. So I think everyone wants to get in two to see what one does. So
that's not working out for those people.
It's not working out at all. It's not working out at all.
Yeah, that's right. That's the day after the draft ends. So why wait?
Yes.
So you are entered in one or not?
I am not. I am not entered in one yet. So
all right. One more thing on this. Last year we talked to a number of guests who were, and you brought it up referencing Alex. They were a little bit, disappointed that there wasn't more regular season money and that it was such a lopsided
payout structure. It seems that FFPC was cognizant of that with the changes, and they added money and also added teams. But there were at least a couple of guests who told us they didn't plan to play. I don't know. Like I don't care. I get to May and I'm ready. But like, do you feel like maybe it'll be down?
I think it might start a little bit slower. I do, because a lot of the high volume guys are not. I say that they're not going to be a part of it. I want to wait and see on that to see if they actually mean it. But then you got the champs from last year had won. They're going to have, they're going to max enter now. They got to.
Let's find out.
Let's find out. Let's get them in here.
All right, Donny Andrews and Brady David, co-champs, the FFPC Football Guys Players Championship last year. Congrats, guys. Donny, you're in Baltimore, right?
That's correct. Yep, I'm in Baltimore, Maryland.
Are you guys close friends?
We are, yeah. We've been friends since probably early high school, middle school. That we've been in the same home league, fantasy football league with each other since probably our sophomore year of high school. So
Brady, you're also in the Baltimore area then?
Yeah, I live out in Aberdeen, which is about 30-minute drive away from Baltimore now, but moved here about a year ago. But yeah, I would still tell everyone I'm from the Baltimore area, I guess.
So is this a regular thing for you guys to enter this tournament? Or if not, like, how did it come about that you got in last year?
So not last year. So we joined 3 years ago. A buddy of mine from college, I actually co-owned a team with him, and I was telling Donny about the idea, and he loved it. So we decided to do it. And then I think we did all right. We just came up short of the big playoff, I think. And then Donny didn't want to do it during the COVID year because he was a little afraid of the uncertainty. And then we ran it back last year.
Yeah, Donny wasn't wrong. The COVID year was a brutal year, especially for us high volume guys. It was, even last year was almost as bad with the timing of, I remember like the Tyler Higbee situation where he had fake COVID and couldn't get a guy for him. And then the next week he had COVID, like, oh my God, enough already. So Donny probably wasn't wrong there.
Right. Well, hopefully that's over.
Oh yeah, that's done. Yeah, max entering next year.
All right, so let's talk about how you drafted. Was it a live draft or a slow draft? And Donny, you start. How do you remember how you put your team together?
Yeah, so it was a live draft. Honestly, it's kind of amazing. We barely did any prep work up front. I think we had a call probably 30, 40 minutes before the draft. I think it was towards the end of August. So towards the end of preseason, had a call just to talk about, all right, here's some players we like. Here's some strategies. We talked about, like, what are we going to do in the first round? Neither one of us liked Derrick Henry a whole lot, which might have been a mistake in hindsight, but he ended up getting hurt. So it worked out. Same thing with like Zeke. We were happy to see him go in front of us. So really we're trying to figure out, like, okay, we want to take Kelsey or Waller if they fall to us. We like having one of those top tight ends. Get that out of the way. It's one position, and we can focus or narrow our focus in on the draft. Those guys went. So talking about like Adams, Hill, which one do we like out of them, and then just kind of overall strategy. So.
Yeah, I like that. And so just for the people who can't see the board, you guys picked 3, 6, 7. And you started Devontae Adams, then Najee Harris, then Terry McLaurin, Mark Andrews, Jamar Chase, Tyler Boyd, Deebo Samuel, Zach Moss, Jalen Waddle, Tony Pollard, Joe Burrow, Gerald Everett. So you had that nice Cincinnati stack there. And I love, I love the zero RB, hero RB build that you guys did here. Was that a plan? I know you guys said you didn't do a ton of prep work beforehand. I mean, obviously, you guys play fantasy football, so you're always doing it anyways. But as far as like building this specific team, did you guys talk about, hey, we're going to go a hero RB or zero RB or whatever?
I think a little bit. So, like, I don't think we explicitly came out and said, we're doing this build. I think it's kind of a mistake to come out and say, or to pre-build or pre-plan your build before the draft happens. In some sense, you need to let the board fall to you. But we both talked about, it's like, hey, we're trying to avoid the RB dead zone between rounds 3 through 6. Guys like Mike Davis that got drafted last year. Blanking on some of the other names, but it's like those guys that just basically they're being drafted that high purely because of volume. Just throw them off the draft board, right? So those rounds we're just taking tight ends, we're taking receivers. Maybe if a quarterback falls to us.
Yeah, that was the way to go. So Brady, let's talk about, before we get to the Bengals, trying to go in order here. Mark Andrews. I don't know if you guys are Baltimore fans necessarily, but if you are, even better. Tight end 6, maybe he was in that 5-6 range last year. You don't get Kelsey or Waller, but it worked out. I mean, Andrews was the one you wanted in the end, especially at that price.
Yeah, that was easily the quickest pick of the draft for us. When we were on the clock in the third round with Terry, we thought, okay, because there's a top 6 tiers or a top tier of 6 tight ends with Pitts, Andrews, and Hockenson. And then when we were on the clock in the third, 3 of them were still available. So we figured there was a decent chance we would get one of them. I think we wanted Andrews the most. I can't really remember, but then they both went off pretty quickly after that. We were sweating out getting Andrews, but that ended up being the easiest pick for us of the draft. And we are big Ravens fans, so that certainly didn't hurt.
Did you remember how you felt when Jackson went down as far as Andrews? Because you're probably at least in contention here. Were you thinking that it was going to be bad for him? Because it ended up being great.
Oh, go ahead, Brady.
I was going to say, yeah. I mean, I was a little concerned, but the truth of it, I mean, when did Lamar go down? Like week 13, so it's like kind of the start of the playoffs. I mean, I don't know if we go through our playoff run, we got in on highest points and we started in like 1600th place during the playoffs, which I think is around middle of the road. And then our first week we put up 120 points, so we dropped down to like 2400th place or something like that, and I thought we were dead. So like it was like at that point I wasn't really stressing over it. And then we had the Jamar Chase eruptions the last 2 weeks, basically, with the Kansas City game.
Right.
That ended up bringing us back. So I wasn't really sweating it that much because I kind of thought there was no point to, because I thought we were dead.
Yeah. Adam, I mean, Andrews, was he tight end 6 or was he 4 or 5? Remember?
You mean as far as ADP?
Yeah, last year. Was he
going? He usually went ahead of Hockenson. Him and Hockenson kind of went back and forth. Mm-hmm. But it's so funny to kind of go. I mean, I feel like it's already last season already.
I know.
And all the way back to last season and think about how like a lot of my successful rosters had the Mark Andrews on there. It's really like kind of neat and nostalgic from 4 months ago to see Mark Andrews on there. But yeah,
I love that. If you want to drag out a board from 6 years ago and we could talk about what we remember, I mean, I would love that exercise.
That's right. And it's cool to see too, like a team that won a national championship here without Cooper Kupp. I mean, granted, Jamar Chase was a stud too, but Kupp was. I mean, people still aren't giving it enough. I mean, it was like the greatest fantasy receiver season ever for so him and Randy Moss and maybe Jerry Rice 50 years ago. So to do it without him is really, really cool. And I don't want to get too far ahead here. How far do we? Because I want to kind of talk about the end of your guys' draft here.
The Bengals. Let's do the Bengals.
Okay, go ahead.
So what I'm wondering is, Donnie, you take Chase in 5. I mean, you might have been thinking Jackson because you have Andrews. It was such a popular stack. You get Chase in 5, and then you get to round 6, and it's Boyd. Are you already thinking Burrow there? Were you maybe thinking Jackson too? I'm guessing yes.
Yeah, definitely. So I'm going to start this off by saying there's probably the biggest point of contention we had in the draft.
Thank you.
Brady likes when I bring this up was around the Jamar Chase pick. If you remember back week 4 of the preseason of last year, Jamar Chase ADP crashing because he quote unquote can't catch the football. I fell a little bit for that trap. Not because he didn't catch the football, but like watching some of those games, he wasn't getting open in some of those preseason games. And I was a little worried about it. So we had a big one-on-one debate of Chase versus Julio Jones, of all people. And I was on the Julio Jones side. Thankfully, I think Brady had a little bit of a stronger conviction and eventually convinced me that Chase was a play, especially with his sort of like profile of high draft pick, athleticism, good team, good quarterback. He kind of checks all those boxes. So once we had Chase, I liked Tyler Boyd a lot, which was the wrong decision. But at the time, I thought he's kind of PPR king. He might catch 100 balls, 90 balls. So we take him, and then immediately once that happens, it's like, all right, now we're basically just lining up Joe Burrow in the queue and waiting for the right opportunity to pull the trigger on him.
Quarterback 14, Brady, Burrow. That's another thing that might not be top of mind when you look at this, looking backward to everybody watching, that Burrow was off that injury and there were serious questions about him. So you see guys going ahead of him here, like Ryan Tannehill, for instance, in that round. Of course, that would look strange now. So I don't think, though, that was too far off. Like, you probably felt round 9-10 that you were still pretty good shape for Burrow, I'm thinking.
Yeah, and the good thing about the Bengals stack, I mean, something I always look at for these drafts are obviously stacking quarterbacks with your pass catchers. But the way you win these type of things is by leveraging stacks that are not as popular. So Burrow's coming off the ACL. Jamar Chase can't catch. Who knows if the Bengals are going to be a bad team again. So once we got Chase and then Boyd, it was pretty clear that was we were pretty leveraged with that sort of stack. So I can't remember if we thought where Burrow exactly was going, if we reached around or not, but it ended up working out.
Yeah, for sure. And Brady too, if you want to call your lawyer and use this to get like 8% more on that payout with the Jamar Chase, you can totally use this video too.
Donny is forever indebted to me.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, that's really interesting. And another thing too, with like the schedule, I think they had once the schedule came out, you saw that it was Bengals and Chiefs, and there was going to be shootouts there and all that type stuff. That's really important stuff to kind of look at too.
It turns out that they blasted Baltimore twice, and that is probably not something you would have banked on. But once they had two just perfect offensive games against the Ravens, who were just completely shredded by injuries by then.
And Chase murdered Marlon Humphrey the first game, which was surprising, but I guess it was.
I think another point too about the Chase thing is it's not just that he was dropping everything; it's that he came out and said, it's harder."
That's it. Yeah, exactly.
So I'm going to defend Donny a little bit.
I thought,
hey, it's harder to catch the football. Which is crazy.
I think it was Mike Florio's report. I think he took that a little bit out of context, but
shocking.
It's not, right? But I wasn't. I mean, it's not like the guy just forgets how to play football and catch a ball. I thought he would figure it out, but we don't get Andrews if he doesn't come out and say that with him. So we'll take the discount.
Yeah. Well, no Cooper Kupp at him, but Debo and Waddle.
Yeah. I was just going to say, I don't want to skip over those. I mean, Debo and Waddle, just to smash on so many picks, the Chase, the Andrews, Najee, Devon. Just Waddle. Was he a guy that you were both high on? Was he just kind of, hey, next man up on the board? Because I was completely off of Waddle. I just don't think Tua's any good. But I didn't, see all those, 12 target games and stuff like that. Was that someone you guys were high on?
I don't think we were super, super high on him. I think the way that definitely I like to approach these drafts, and I'm Brady as well, is we try and find those guys that can really massively outperform their ADP. And a lot of those guys tend to be in the shape and size of Jalen Waddle, like the top 6-7 pick in the draft, super fast, super athletic. There were a whole bunch of questions about Tua, but they were questions, right? We didn't know if he was good. He might have been good. He might have been bad. We weren't entirely sure. So basically and I think the same thing applies to Deebo Samuel, right? He was injured the year previous, but we've seen him when he's healthy and he's good. And kind of everybody was locked into Ayuk at the time, but just taking that discount on getting talented guys in round 7, 8, 9, 10 and below that can sort of really outperform their ADP, and Waddle was definitely the next man up as far as that mold.
A consistent theme we have in every league we're in is we're overly obsessed with drafting rookies too. So that also plays into it, which doesn't really typically work out for redraft, but finally paid off.
Well, you have smashes here in terms of the stack, the tight end, Samuel and Waddle. I haven't seen the bottom yet, and I have to know who your regular RB2 was at some point here, because it's got to be off waivers.
We drafted Zach Moss as our RB2, and he was a healthy one scratch. So that was
right. So were you an Elijah Mitchell team or what?
No, we got outbid. We talked about the big. I remember there was a big waiver wire decision of how much do you want to bid for Elijah Mitchell, and I think we got up. I was initially like 500, 600, something like that. Keep us with some waiver wire bucks to play with. We eventually got up to like 750. I think Brady convinced me to go higher, and the winning bid was like 980 or something like that. So we didn't even come close. So honestly, I think the biggest lesson I learned is you talked about who our regular RB2 was. Didn't have one. We were scraping by trying to find 10 points, 9 points, 11 points every single week off the waiver wire. We got lucky. We picked up like Mark Ingram a week before he got traded, just because we literally needed somebody to plug into our lineup. He gets traded to the Saints. Kamara goes down, and there's 3 weeks we get 10 points a week. So like we had a couple of Ramondre Stevenson weeks. Jeff Wilson in the playoffs. We probably wouldn't have won with it if we didn't pick up Jeff Wilson. Tony Pollard carried us, not carried, but just again getting those 10 points every single week.
Who, for the record, is the best running back on his team.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Listen,
everybody knows the
Yeah.
Sochi Olympics or something, but yes.
Everybody knows that except for his own.
Oh, this is the deep end, baby. We all know that.
We know that. But yeah, it's cool to look. So this is the roster. It's hard to kind of see, but they had Kadarius Toney, who I loved. I'm kind of high on a little bit this year. Rashad Bateman, like you said, Ramondre Stevenson, Dalton Schultz, a nice pickup there too. So yeah, really impressive roster there by the end of the year, and it just goes to show like how much what makes a difference kind of there at the end. And to kind of point out, like, I was so interesting, like kind of looking over this roster and studying it, like picks 12 through 20 gone, not even on the roster. Like that's not abnormal. Like people, they were every single pick and they toil over it and they, what do I do? And that it doesn't even, if you hit on the right players, right, and you have kind of the right base strategy, it's all turnover at the end of the roster there. I mean, literally, I think every player is gone from round 12 to 20. Obviously, the kicker and the defense, you're going to be, bringing those guys in and out for bye weeks and stuff and streaming that. But to literally have every single player be off the roster from 12 to 20 and just to smash like that was really, really cool.
I love
it. It's kind of funny. The one player we do have on the team was the kicker.
Oh, there you go.
Prater in the dome. That was Romano.
Hey, that's a great point. And one thing it says is do not get stuck, with we picked him in the 12th round. The way sometimes NFL teams do. We picked him and he's not good, but we picked him, and that sort of unwillingness to separate from guys, even though they haven't produced, because you have whatever the sunk cost theory there. So that's to your credit. Well, one more question I have, because my main event partner, Louie, who's not on the show, and I lost somewhere in the neighborhood of $2,000 on the play, was the Najee Harris run that won it for you at the end of the season, because you were not in first place until the last play of that famous Ben is retiring Monday night, but he's going to play in the playoffs. Ben, Cleveland-Pittsburgh game. What was that? Donny first. What was the night like?
Yeah, so I will say that we were in first before that play. It was only by a couple of points. You're fine. It was still extremely.
It wasn't over.
Yeah, it wasn't over. We were only up by 3 or 4 points at the time, so we were still sweating it out. So that night I went over to Brady's house, watched the game on his brand new 90-inch TV, I think. Really, really, really sweating it out. I tend to get a little nervous, so a lot of pacing around, drank a couple beers, kind of take the edge off. But that run that kind of sealed it. I'm pretty sure I don't remember exactly what happened, but I know I sprinted across Brady's basement, and at the end of it, I ended up falling on the floor like in celebration. So that was pretty cool.
So you were in first.
We
you
were
in first most of the night, or like Harris got a couple carries before that, and my buddy and I were trying to hang on. We just needed him not to break one, which he did. But you didn't need him to break one to win.
No, we didn't need him to break one. We needed him at the end of the night. I think it was like 16 or 17 PPR points. I think he had like 13 by halftime. And then he had a little bit of a slow quarter. By I think the start of the fourth quarter, we had eventually taken the lead, and we were just holding on for hope after that.
Who were you fighting off during the night? Like, was there anybody else you had to compete with?
Chubb, maybe.
Chubb,
yeah,
Deontay Johnson.
Okay.
There was it Chubb, Deontay, and Steelers D or Steelers D team. There was a team that was behind. We had to get like 14 to guarantee a top 3, and then there was a Chubb team, and then there was like a Deontay and Steelers team that we were holding off to.
So I'm guessing Brady had done all the math, and Donny was too nervous to look. Just tell me what we're going to win. Is that close at least?
Similar. I had a notes app thing with every scenario listed for
me
for
too.
The night.
Yeah, it's really fun. I remember, watching the game from right where I'm sitting actually, and going, when he broke that off, I was like, oh my God, somebody. Now I was wrong, but I'm like, someone just won $500,000 on that run, guaranteed. Because I've been a part of this. Like 2 or 3 years ago, I came in 5th place in the main event, and I was sitting 3rd or 4th, and it was a Packers. It was a Monday night, same situation. Packers, I think, Bears, Minnesota, and Aaron Jones snaps off like a 47-yard touchdown run. Garbage, like 6 minutes left, didn't even matter, and it cost me a spot or two in the main event finals. And I remember just collapsing on the ground. It's the opposite of what you guys were doing. It didn't cost me $500,000, but it was still it was a lot of money. So, but that's super exciting. That's really, really cool for you guys. Kind of looking forward. That's a nice recap of last year. Looking forward to this year. Any idea what you guys are going to do? You're going to do more, obviously more than one. Are you going to what are you thinking? What's the plan?
So not only did we only split one entry. Me personally, this was my only entry in the Football Guys Championship. Well, I wasn't managing any teams on my own. That's definitely going to change that. I'll probably maybe get a 3-pack of them, manage myself. I don't know if it's unlucky for Brady and I to co-manage a whole bunch of them, or if we should continue with just a single approach or single team and run it back. We have to talk about that. But I think collectively, Brady, correct me if I'm wrong, but there's probably going to be a lot more entries than there were last year.
Yeah, for sure. And if we were to split one, we might go up to was it $1,800 for the
main event,
the big one? But there's definitely going to be several teams we both have, I would say.
Yeah, and I will say, I'm sorry. I will say real quick that I think this is definitely my favorite format. So I feel like I'm like out of all my fantasy leagues, I think I had, like last year I had like 10 fantasy leagues, and I find myself every year just like slashing stuff off that I don't care about and just pumping more into Football Guys. Even like the lower level satellite leagues that are $50 or something like that. I really enjoy the format. So
you guys did at least take some of the money out. You leave like $500,000 sitting in your FFPC account. That's probably
to tell you what, that was stressful too. And Brady was probably even more stressed. I had the whole 500 lump sum sitting in my account because I was the owner of the team, because I signed up for it. And I got an email from the owner of FFPC. Basically, I was talking about how do I transfer the money, and he told me, "You do whatever you want with it. It's your money." So I had to give him consent to give half to Brady. So I think we're probably even on the Jamar Chase thing.
Yeah, that's right. That's absolutely right. What a great story, guys. Yeah, that's really, really cool. Yeah, I'll just say you got to do. Listen, you can't just one and done it, because that's like a poker game. You roll up, win the first hand, and then leave. We need a chance at winning our money back. Okay?
Yeah.
Come on. I love it.
Donny, Brady, congratulations again. A pleasure talking to you tonight. And maybe we'll Adam's talking about seeing you guys in the Draft Sharks Invitational, so that'll be good. I'm sure we'll talk again if that's the case.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Definitely keep in touch. It was a pleasure being on.
Yeah, thank you very much.
All right, guys. Thanks.
Great. Thanks, guys.
Bye-bye.
What a story.
Pretty
Najee
good.
Harris. Unbelievable.
Yeah, every winning story is great. Like the Go Bills guys who won the main event.
Yeah.
Their story wasn't down to the wire Monday night. They knew when Jamar Chase scored his first touchdown in the 1:00 game against Kansas City that they had it. And so they were able to pretty much celebrate already, like all weekend, as opposed to this would be more common, right? Where it comes down to the end of the Monday night game.
Oh, incredible stuff. I love it. Great guys. I was like, you always like, one entry, like, oh, unbelievable. It's humbling, Mike, is what it is. It's absolutely humbling. When I had 24, and I think my top team came in like 50th place, but those guys.
Your best team went out to me.
That's right. That's right.
Your best FPC. I want to do FBG PC. Your
FBG 7. I'll never forget it. FBG
the Memorial Day League. Yep.
That's right.
Amazing that these guys could win with one entry. Amazing these guys could win and not be from Buffalo. So many of the big champions
That's right.
From here, so they beat the odds in more than one way. Sorry for banging into this microphone here, but I whacked it there a second ago. All right, so I'm in the mood to play the football guys now. I mean, if you're going to play it, isn't this how they get you? If you're going to play it, you got to get the 3-pack.
Oh yeah, you at least got. I mean, how many 3-packs does it take to get to the? Apparently just a third of a 3-pack, but yeah, no, it's and I'm spread so thin, and I'm trying to do higher and higher stakes, but here's what I will say: people don't like some of the payout structure that FBG. Fine, I don't necessarily disagree, but here's what I will say: they're really, really good practice for the bigger stuff. Like if you want to do bigger stuff, FFPC offers it all. 5Ks, 3K. I think they might offer a 10K. All types. The main event, which is their flagship, that's 2,000. This is really good practice. Now it might not be practice in May, right? But like if you want to know what people are thinking in those rooms, because you can't go. What's a mock draft, anyways? Nobody's mock drafting anymore. Like you can't get the practice that you need for the high stakes stuff without being in some of these football guys. So I'm not saying you got to do 100 of them, but I think you got to be in those rooms because that's where all the high stakes guys are that are playing the higher events.
Right. You don't need the mock draft if you can play $10 underdog leagues anytime you want, or you want to play $5 FFPC sit and goes. Like you don't need mock drafts if you can play for $5 or $10.
Right. And if you want Louis G in your DMs at 1 a.m, then play in the underdogs. I'll tell you, you'll find
what happens.
That's what
he cooked for my family today.
Did he?
Yeah.
Lamb update? Is there a lamb update or no?
You're Mr. CD Lamb. Looked lamb-tastic, the pictures I got.
Unbelievable. So good.
No, Louis had a big Easter thing planned, and we were supposed to go. We couldn't go. That's not really honest. We didn't go. We could have gone, but it would have been tough. So we ended up not going, and Louis is like, well, I'll bring you over food. I'm like, come on. He's like, I can't have all this food in the house, and I made it for your wife, who's vegetarian. So everybody ate Chef Louis G today.
Nice.
It was a pleasure. Nice. It was a pleasure.
Very nice. I like
All right. Well, much more coverage of the football guys by next week. It's the NFL draft, and the week after that, it's on. Draft Sharks on the deck. So I sent you, we've talked about this here and there. I sent you a message, I don't know, a couple of weeks ago. Are we doing this? And that's why I wanted to bring it up tonight. Are we doing this? So my idea is I live on the western border of New York State, Grand Island, next to Canada, right across the river. Wait, that way is Canada. Behind me is Canada. You guys in Rochester, what do you think? Do you think Matt and Jared and Kevin and Lenny and Jason would all come here, have take a Friday off in July 22nd, perhaps, take a Friday off, draft in one of these things, and just have an outdoor day? What do you think? Would they
Absolutely. I mean, they're probably going to text me right now and say that they're in. But no, yeah, let's get out there. Let's get everyone all hopped up and making some bad decisions in the draft room, and have some fun. Hopefully it won't be like it's been every day for the last 3 months and 27 degrees and raining like it is right now here in beautiful Rochester, New York. But yeah, no, that sounds great. Get the deck. Is the in-ground pool going to be open too, or what?
It's open this Friday.
Is it heated? It's got to be heated.
Well, it isn't yet, but yes. Yes. Sunday's supposed to be in the high 70s, so I'll be in the pool by Sunday, but it'll be open on Friday. And
wow,
you guys can wait till July.
What are you setting today? 96? I mean, come on.
No, usually like 80 is fine.
Unbelievable. Oh yeah, we're there. Draft Shark,
well,
deep end Draft Shark swimming pool.
You guys have. I heard this is funny too. I heard. I think I was listening to their show. Matt and Jared reference the weekend, right? You got coming up where you guys get together.
Yep, for the draft.
Another swanky location for the draft. I can't do it, but I feel bad about that. And then so Spotify. Some of you will listen to us on Spotify, and mine. I don't know. Partly it's because my kids and my wife use it. Partly it's because it's either on my computer or my phone or my car, I think. Partly it's because of this Canadian border point. Sometimes the Wi-Fi thinks I'm in Canada. I don't know. But I get into my car and I try to turn on something on Spotify. Anything can happen. What happened today was a Draft Sharks pod just sort of started. And Matt and Jared were talking about the upcoming draft. And, we think we have a pretty good idea about what this class looks like. And so Matt sets Jared up. Jared comes on and he says, yeah, what it looks like to me, Matt, is it's a great year for wide receivers and tight ends. Now I'm driving and I hear that. I think he's the first, wait a minute, what is this going to be? He's the first person I've heard say it's a great year for tight ends. So I'm driving for another 2-3 miles and I don't know. Spotify can do this. I'm listening to them talk about, the draft is next week. And, people like different players. Could be the same kind of thing you would say any year. And then so Jared takes the mic back and he goes into how the two Iowa guys, Hawkinson and Fant,
that's right,
are good prospects. I'm like, I've got that's what you did to me. Spotify, right. You put up a Draft Sharks pre-draft show from 3 years ago. Like, I mean, anything can happen. Be careful out there. Make sure the fantasy content you are consuming is from this year.
That's right.
Because you could get trapped. If I didn't know the names well enough, I could have gotten stuck there. But Hawkinson and Fant, I pulled over. Once I heard that, I'm like, come on. I get so mad at this thing. I feel like everything should work perfectly. So I just
pulled over and Doc was there and Marty McFly was running out of the mall there. And it was 1967 and it was Back to the Future. What an episode. Back to the Future fantasy football.
Right.
I like it.
Yeah, so hopefully these guys will come by in July. Everybody's invited. I left it to Adam to invite them, and I think Adam is saying right now he thinks he just did that.
I just did that, and consider it done. Consider it done.
And Lenny's got relatives here. My wife knows his brother, I think. So
that's right. Yeah, there's we got people all over Western New York, Grand Island. I mean, Buffalo. I don't know if I have anybody in Buffalo, but Grand Island, and
we could put up something really cool, like. What I learned last year in that Football Guys is we don't really want to play against each other.
Right. That's right.
But what if we did?
So we just get a closed league. We do remember we drafted last year during the day 2 of the NFL draft. We had that $35 FFPC closed league. We can put one of those out again for that night.
I think I won that too.
No, of course you did. You did win that. I think
I did win that.
Of course.
And I was at WGR drafting that team.
Showing off.
Well, you keep bringing up the ones that I won.
That's right.
All right. Anything else? I have a question.
Yeah.
So Thursday is our Dynasty episode, and this is like when you talk about the rookies, it seems like more Dynasty suited, but draft is in 9 days. Do you have favorites? You probably do by now, right? Like you probably we don't know landing spots yet, and most of our drafting will wait until the NFL draft is over. But you got to have guys you like more than other guys, with the Bills or, for Dynasty, depending on your draft position. Have you thought about certain outcomes you'd like to see next week?
Yeah, I have. And I listened to part of your show today and, with the Breece Hall, the Bills talk, obviously, being in Western New York, that would be exciting for fantasy and stuff like that. And yeah, it's Brees Hall to a team that doesn't have a major running back threat there would be really, really awesome. And this is kind of off topic, but I was thinking about it today, listening to you guys. Like, if the Bills, for example, because I know they're one of the teams rumored to be looking at Brees Hall, like, it's not a smart move, air quotes, for them to take a running back in the first round. They're at 25. So if they take a running back 7, 8, 9 picks later, all of a sudden it's fine. Like, if I'm not saying they should take Brees Hall, but I don't think a difference of 6, 7, 8 picks should deter them from taking a guy that they think can help them win the Super Bowl. And not that matters for fantasy football, but I think that if they take him at 25, I don't think it's the dumbest thing that they could ever do. Now, there's different things. Oh, they should take an O-lineman and then take a running back in the 3rd round because the O-lineman helps every running back get back there. Fine. But I guess I need to know, like, what my alternatives are. Am I taking a linebacker, or am I, you know what I mean? Like, so I need to know what the alternatives are. Brees Hall of the Bills would be really cool. The wide receivers, I'm kind of torn. I don't know, like the Jets. I don't think Zach Wilson's great. So, you know, what is a receiver really going to do for him? You know, but there are different scenarios, different things. I really dig in, like most people, after the draft, because unless you're doing a dynasty draft right now, it's all speculation. It doesn't really matter. You know, you're doing some $5 underdogs and stuff like that. But the big stuff kind of happens after the NFL draft.
Yeah, you know, so much of this game, I think, is taking advantage of information you think other people have that's faulty, or that you think you have and they don't.
Sure.
Like, so much of our show tonight was Donny and Brady talking about how they ended up capitalizing on a misconception about Jamar Chase that, as you pointed out, he helped cultivate.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, people were getting out on Jamar Chase.
Yeah.
And if you didn't, you probably won money. So if you're drafting this week, which I'm not opposed to drafting anytime. If you're drafting this week, you're trying to play it by what is the consensus draft expectation for this player? You know, if you mentioned the Jets, if you think the Jets is negative, so you want to avoid something, if it's Jameson Williams or somebody you think the Jets, you have some reason for thinking who they're honing in on. Hall, everybody seems to love him as a prospect, but there aren't that many teams that really, if you will, need him.
Yeah. Yep.
So right now you're sitting at 101 and you don't know where he's going. You can look at the board and see if you want to get out. You can roll the dice, or if you're drafting in 2 weeks, it will look very different. So both positions, running back, receiver, will, once you get past the first 2 running backs and maybe 1 or 2 receivers, that next group of guys will be totally scrambled by the draft, I think, you know, and next Sunday when Football Guys starts, it'll feel and look very different than it does.
It'll feel different. It'll look different. It'll be different. And that's what I'm excited for. Cause I mean, even now it's like, you just don't, there's so many different things you got to factor in. Like, is this guy even good? Is he even going to be good in the NFL? And then does the team know how to use him that drafts him? And then does the team, you know, is it good for fantasy football? Like, cause that's really what we're here for. And, you know, you hear the Walker, he doesn't block, or he doesn't want to block. And it's like, okay. And then you've got Brees Hall, who's really good, and his old line stunking. He's even better than you think he is. Like, I heard maybe multiple times this week that if this was 10 years ago, Brees Hall would be a top 5 or 7 pick. It's like, oh, well, now if you're a team like the Buffalo Bills, like, oh my God, not only are we getting the best running back in the draft, but we might be getting a guy that was Saquon Barkley 4, 5, 6 years ago, that, you know, he's even better. He's not just some running back. So is that right? Is Brees Hall really that good? So I think now, you know, it's speculation. I know there's players that we don't want guys to go to, or at least me, and stuff like that. So I'm super excited for the draft, especially day one, figure out where everybody's going, and then really start locking into our season-long drafts.
I know I don't want him for the Bills.
I know.
And that's with due respect to him and the Bills. But,
yes,
you know, even if it was, I mean, the Bills took C.J. Spiller.
Yeah.
2012 or whatever year that was. And that was, I think, a top 10 pick. And, you know, So what? I mean, so many of those running backs they don't seem to really change the fortunes of their team. You look at the Edwards-Helaire draft, Taylor and Swift and Dobbins and Dillon and Gibson, like I guess the Packers and the Chiefs anyway, but really how many of them have – I mean, Taylor's great. I don't want to make the wrong point. It's just – it's not quarterback.
No, I get it. And it the other thing too is like, man, like if they drafted the worst freaking one, like if they would have taken any of those other running backs, like that could completely have changed. I mean, they might have won another Super Bowl. I mean, that's crazy to think about.
They should have taken T. Higgins.
Sure.
Right? Because any of them would be taking the ball away from Mahomes.
Yeah, no, I get that.
You know? That's what I think.
I get it.
All right, Adam.
I like it.
Who have we got coming up on Thursday?
I don't know if we have anybody.
Are we to Jay Moyer yet? Is he ducking us? Is he ghosting
I think he's busy. Jay's been busy.
Is he too big for us?
No, he's not. He's not big time than us.
Everybody seems to know him and respect him. He seems like he's got it really going on good.
Yeah, he's been doing really well. He's but I did reach out to him. He's been really busy at work. Much respect to that. And so but yeah, no, we'll get somebody. I'm excited. I really wanted to talk to the Football Guys champs tonight. So we'll lock somebody in and we'll probably be done with our Dynasty 1K startup. We can dig into that. Maybe we'll grab somebody from that league and come on and
could be done tonight.
Tell them how good Kyle Pitts is. So
yeah, that you needed another show to get out your Kyle Pitts rage. Okay. Thanks to Donny and Brady. Thank you, Adam. Thanks, everybody, for watching. And we'll be back on Thursday night with another episode of The Deep End. If you're not Dynasty inclined, just in the high stakes zone, we'll be back next Tuesday with an emphasis on the high stakes world with a look ahead to the draft next week. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you then.
See you guys.